Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer. Today we have two very special guests with us. Eddie Cochran, who is the chair of the My Brother's Keeper Committee at the City of Sanford and a volunteer, as well as Andrew Thomas, the Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement Director for the City of Sanford. And today's topic will be the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
So I'm going to just share a little bit of background about Eddie. Eddie is the founding chair of Lake Sumter State College Relay Technician Advisory Committee,
Yes.
as well as a former manager at Duke Energy. You mentored UCF students in affiliation with National Society of Black Engineers. You have mentored high school students at Journeys Academy. And you are currently an engineer with Duke Energy, a mentor at Westside Community Center, and a member of the CNI Public Safety Committee. Thank you, Eddie, for all of your accomplishments. And thank you for chairing the My Brother's Keeper Committee for the City of Sanford. So we're going to share today just an overall view of the My Brother's Keeper designation for the City of Sanford, and both Andrew and Eddie will share some information with you that hopefully will enlighten you if you've not known that the City of Sanford is a designated community. So, Eddie, why don't you take the first question? What is the My Brother's Keeper?
Great question. You know, in February, President Barack Obama launched the My Brother's Keeper initiative and appointed a task force following the fatal shooting of the unarmed high school student Trayvon Martin. Now, this task force concluded that despite our advances as a nation, boys and young men of color are still at an educational, economic, and social disparity when compared to other children and young adults. So when you ask what is My Brother's Keeper, you know, My Brother's Keeper is a direct message to the youth that we see you, we got you, and we will create the change that we want to see through methodical and strategic programs.
That sounds like an incredible initiative. Andrew, did you want to say?
Yeah, just wanted to add to it. In February, we're talking about February of 2014. Yes, that it went into our President Obama was still in office, but the initiative still continues. Is to clarify the year. Okay.
And MBK is just for young African American men at this point, correct? Is that the initiative is
It's for black and brown, so it includes both minorities.
Right. In fact, the term should be young men of color.
Young men of color.
This not only includes African American, Hispanic, our Latino, our Native Americans, and our Asian, as the research has shown us, are also subjected to the same disparities when it comes to education.
Okay. And so, Andrew, would you like to go into a little bit of what it means to be an official My Brother's Keeper community for the City of Sanford?
Sure. It means, as Eddie mentioned, coming out of the concerns in 2014, and how do we level the playing field? How do we reduce some of those disparities? And the City of Sanford took a real close look at it and said, yeah, that's what's happening, and that's what the national research is saying, is that our young people, particularly young men of color, they're not starting school on time, they're not reading at grade level, they're not graduating, they're not prepared to go on. So if that holds true, then what should we do? And a committee was appointed to take a closer look, like they did on a national level, and said, what's happening in Sanford? And we realized in Sanford, many of those same statistics held true. And we came out with a commitment, and the goal was to reduce those disparities for our young men of color that was part of the Seminole High School cluster system. So any school that feeds into that, or young men that's involved in that we committed to, and it's called accepting the challenge, to do something about it. And we took like 4 of the 6 benchmarks. The one is that we want to be sure they're starting school and prepared on time, that they're reading at grade level, that they're graduating on time, prepared to go on to higher education, vocational training, and to have some type of career plans. And also that those that are caught up in our criminal justice system, that so often they don't have a second chance. How do we create that second chance? So that if you, by chance, get caught up in our juvenile justice system or criminal justice system, that's not a sentence for life. That our young people, they have a second chance, and they can move on and have the same opportunities that everyone else.
So could you tailor those challenges to our committee? Because it's a national initiative to our city, I'm saying, Eddie.
Absolutely. You know, overall, it's all about creating effective mentorship programs reducing youth violence, and also creating measurable improvements in the lives of young men and women of color. So I think by tackling this in a methodical way, you're able to truly develop programs that are customized and unique for the city of Sanford.
All right. Is there any other cities in Seminole County or even in this region that are designated a My Brother's Keeper community? Because that is a pretty big deal, I would imagine.
It is. And it's called Taking the Challenge. We have nationally, there's 240 cities that sign on, took the challenge, and says we acknowledge that there are disparities that affect our young men of color. And as Eddie pointed out, too, it also moved into a more recent instance, and that's not just our young men of color, that's our young women of color as well. So being inclusive. And in the region, in the Central Florida region, Orlando has a strong program.
Mm-hmm.
Sanford took the initial pledge in 2015, and that means submitting an action plan. First, you acknowledge that there are disparities. There's a plan to do something about it, and we've moved forward. Over the past 3 years, although it didn't seem that the city was active with the My Brother's Keeper, we were. That we continue to work, as Eddie pointed out. He's a mentor at the Westside Community Center, have a mentoring program there. We've continued to work between our mentoring program and the Sanford Police Department, and having a series of activities that involve primarily increasing our relationship between our young men of color and the police department. So we've had a series of workshops, dialogue sessions, and we've had we've worked with the Young Men of Excellence, which is also part of it, and that's the high school. And that we've also gone in, we speak to our Young Men of Excellence, and we've had programs again between the school district, our mentoring program, and the Sanford Police Department. So those have been ongoing, and now we just kick it up to the next level.
Kick it up a notch. And so you you mentioned the mentoring program. That is the program that we have at the Westside Community Center, correct?
Yes.
And so how can other people get involved in these mentoring opportunities?
There's many opportunities. One to speak of is, again, the mentorship program there led by Brent Henderson at the Westside Community Center. There's also the Young Men of Excellence, which is another great opportunity for high school students to really get engaged in, the process around mentoring, coaching, really increasing the educational statistics here within our high school cluster. And
so how can people get in touch with you, Eddie, or your committee about if they want to volunteer and give back?
Mm-hmm. They can reach us through my phone number.
Okay.
That's 407-688-5132. We also have a website that they can visit here with the city and contact us through that means as well.
Okay.
The committee meets the first Wednesday of each month at 4 p.m. here at City Hall, and that's an open meeting that anyone is welcome to come. The meeting is noticed and published.
And okay.
And if I may, and add to when Eddie was talking about in terms of how you can help us, and he mentioned the Young Men of Excellence,
right.
And we're always looking for speakers that can go in and speak to our young men. It's talking about life experiences, helping them to decide on careers. It's really good for them to hear what others are doing. Eddie's an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
To go in and talk with our young men about engineering and about STEM programs and so forth. Sometimes we have to consciously think breaking the cycle, because normally it's the athletics that we're involved in and the sports, but you got to expose them to a wider world view and seeing all of the possibilities that are out there.
Yes, certainly. And Eddie, your committee, your board, has been created recently. Is this correct? And you have how many members? Do you want to speak to that as being the chairman and what you would like to see as a result of your work with your board?
Absolutely. Currently, we have 7 members. Of course, myself being the chair, we have a co-chair in place as well. The board consists of a very versatile group of professionals, entrepreneurs, retirees from the industry. There's a wealth of knowledge that exists, including members that were part of the initial development of the My Brother's Keeper here in the city of Sanford, local community leaders as well. So we feel that with this versatile skill set that we have a lot of the support that we need Ultimately, we'd like to set the example for our youth and really provide them a pathway to reach their fullest potential.
Okay, and so do you have any specific goals yet, your board, what you'd like to see happen locally, or are you right now just in that planning phase?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your theory? It's interesting. We had a meeting yesterday, and
Okay.
he was sharing with me his vision in terms of what he sees in terms of how do we serve the whole child, so from a holistic approach.
Sure. Well, if you look at the actual vision of the Sanford MBK, it really aligns very closely with the national initiative, which is to grow effective mentorship, reduce youth violence, and make measurable improvements. So when you look at this from a tactical standpoint, as far as, well, what will Sanford, the city of Sanford, do to accomplish this vision, we like to create a focus around 4 areas in particular: physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. Now, to further elaborate on this, the physical well-being involves continuing to focus on engaging the youth and getting active, engaging in sports at our recreation centers such as Westside Center, 5K events, and others. This also involves the Florida Department Health Center plays an instrumental role in providing routine checkups and physical and information through some of their health expos. The intellectual well-being component that involves continuing to grow mentorship programs such as what we mentioned, the Westside Community Center with Brett, the Young Men of Excellence, which focuses on increasing the academic performance through structured mentoring and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional well-being involves providing mentorship and programs that target self-esteem, peaceful conflict resolution, prayer and worship, and getting actively engaged and volunteering in their community. And last but not least, there's a social well-being that involves exposing and engaging youth to programs such as the Goldsboro Front Porch Council, and in particular the Youth Empowerment and Leadership Development Academy, as well as the Mayor's Youth Council, or even other programs that allow boys and young men of color to engage in healthy dialogue with law enforcement. We feel that by focusing on these 4 components, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development, Sanford's MBK program is committed to making an impact in our community.
It sounds like you have a great plan to get there. You really do. That's very hopeful for the future. And Andrew, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think Eddie did a wonderful job in covering it, and he shared with me yesterday in terms of his vision for MBK in going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add, and one of the things that we talked about yesterday in terms of how the community can help, we had some discussion around the lack of employment for our young men. And we're looking at this one, and he also mentioned how do we work with the Mayor's Youth Council, and they put on a job fair. And how do we have these young men prepared that they can come to this job fair? So some job readiness workshops and trainings, and also working, possible with the Mayor's Youth Council to identify and recruit businesses that are willing to hire these young people, so we increase the diversity of those that are coming in participating in the job fair.
Yes, and so all this information can be found out by calling Mr. Andrew Thomas, 407-688-5132. You can also email Andrew at andrew.thomas@sanfordfl.gov or go to our city website, sanfordfl.gov. But there's several ways to get involved. This is an extremely important designation that the city of Sanford has itself in now, and we are looking for people to participate and help out. It takes a village, and we use this platform to share information and important strategies that the city of Sanford is doing to improve our community. The MBK designation certainly is wonderful. And is that last forever, that designation, or do you have to keep on reapplying to be designated? Do you have to report back to the national committee on your results? Is there
Yes.
to continue to be designated?
It's an active membership.
Active membership.
Yes, you have to have an action plan. You have to implement that plan, and you have to submit the results. And as long as you're moving forward, you're making a difference within your community, you can continue to be a member of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance. But once you cease to make a difference, then you're reevaluated. And decide, do you change your direction? Do you want to reapply? That it's not a lifetime membership. Once
Okay.
you get in.
And as Mr. Thomas mentioned, that we're held accountable by providing annual reports to the National Committee to show what we are physically doing in the Sanford community to reach that objective.
Great. Thank you so much. So, Eddie, you have 7 other board members, correct, on the
Well, 7 includes myself.
7
so 6
including
others.
yourself,
Yes.
and so you actually are meeting today
We are.
and October 2nd, but you said that the meetings are the first Wednesdays of every month at City Hall at 4 p.m.?
4 p.m.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're interested in finding out more, they're public meetings. Please follow the MBK schedule and come to the meetings. And also the agendas are online as well,
Yes.
so you can see the important information that they are covering. Is there any last minute, maybe hopes for the future, Eddie, that you have in regards to our community?
Well, we're just very encouraged. You know, we see the beauty and we love the city of Sanford, and we see it as an honor to really serve in this community. So we're just looking for great things.
Thank you. Great things are always good. Andrew, any last words? Andrew Thomas, the Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement Director for the City of Sanford. Any last words?
No, I just thank the committee. As you indicated, we have a very diverse group of individuals serving on it. So as Eddie mentioned, we're just looking for good things to happen.
Yeah.
Particularly in the coming year and as we go forward.
So please come back on the show and you share with us some of your outcomes that you've done and some fun things that you're doing in the community to improve the lives of young men of color in the city of Sanford. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer, City of Sanford. You can subscribe to this podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, our social media, and the city website, sanfordfl.gov/podcast. Thanks for listening.